Morning, everybody. Sammy, United People's TV. Happy New Year's Eve to everyone. Hope you have a better evening tonight than you had last night watching that crock of crap. Unfortunately, we've got to speak about it. I'm going to run through that 1-1 draw against Wolves. Going to run through Ruben Amorim's reaction, the fan reaction. And there's a lot of anger after that game. And I'll be honest, I think it's all totally justified on this one. I think you can see by the title of the video, the thing I'm going to really focus on today from last night is about choices, and a lot of choices that Ruben Amorim just got completely wrong. Choices that he didn't have to make. Switching the system again after that game against Newcastle. We'll run through it. We'll speak about individuals, we'll speak about the game itself, and we'll speak about 2025 as a whole. Do we have to? Oh, man, that was a hell of a year. Jeez. 2026 has got to be better, doesn't it? I probably said the same thing about 2025. Yeah. Let me see who's here. Let me say hello to everybody, and let's get on with today's show. All right. Good morning too. And we've got JC. Good morning to Josh and Maddie. Hope you're enjoying Lake District. We've got Carl there as well. JC. Plenty of mods out, and I'm sure it's going to be spicy in the chat here today, so try and keep it civil. Saeed, good morning to you. Sam Turner, Sasha. We've got Smee. We've got Teresa. We've got some non-members as well. We've got Carrick fan. We've got Johnny. We've got Cantonar Reds. It was a brutal performance last night. If you want to sum up my mood this morning, there's your mood. Mate. Someone talk to me. The floor is yours. Yours? The floor is yours. Oh, I couldn't use the word shocking to describe that game last night because it wasn't shocking. Shocking is something, oh my God, I'm completely caught by surprise. I'm not caught by surprise. Like, game a guy down there saying one bad match and hammer him out. Like, don't try and troll United fans and like just try and gauge it, like get a little nibble, get a reaction. This is far from a conversation that exists off the back of one game. Completely opposite in that sense. That game last night should have been... Look, I know that Wolves had a decent performance against Liverpool at Anfield. I know that Wolves had a decent performance against Arsenal at the Emirates. And despite the fact that we beat them 4-1, I was hoping it was going to be a similar performance last night, but because we had Bruno out and Ahmad out and Mbumo out, okay, we didn't have the certain... But we still should have had enough to confidently dispatch Wolves at Old Trafford. And quite the opposite happened. Man, I got an itchy nose. Go away. Let me see what you're saying down here. Let's pretend that game didn't happen and talk about Sunday's game. What, you want to talk about playing Leeds at Ellen Road? Based on that performance last night. Huh. Rather you than me. So I'd say it was probably the most disappointing game in a long time. God damn it. Stop being so itchy. Why fix something that's not broken? That's kind of what I felt about the starting 11 yesterday in the setup. Kill for Diamond said, I'm not hammering him out, but something's got to change. I don't think anything needed to change last night. If I'm honest. And that's kind of why I'm annoyed about the choices. And it's saying you blame it all. Amorim ballsed up, but the players performed terribly. Not a 6 out of 10 from any of them. Šeško yesterday 100% should have scored. Fletcher and Mantato were very negative. Surely there's not people going after quite literally a 17, 18-year-old lad in Mantato making his debut. And Fletcher making his second appearance at Old Trafford. You really want to go out? I think I'm going to be speaking about what Cunha didn't do and what Šeško didn't do and what the senior players didn't do before I start pointing towards the youngsters and thinking, that's the problem. Like, come on, people. For real. But this was Old Trafford at full time last night. My God, that was loud. That was the Wolves fans. Sorry about that. Maybe you can't hear that as well, but that is Old Trafford booing. And we can't be surprised about it. It's going to be a fun old chat here today, right? We can't be going Amorim out. Who are you going to replace him with? This isn't a conversation about Amorim out. This isn't a conversation about who we're going to be replacing him with. But this is a conversation where I'm going to criticise what I saw last night. Because as I said, a lot of it was choices. Right? This is what Ruben Amorim said after the game. Okay, there's a little clip.
I think it was a strange game. We already knew it. That would be a different game if you compare to Newcastle. We needed more imagination today to create chances. We lack the one against one. That characteristic is really important in this kind of game. We struggle also in the first half trying to steal the ball. They put a lot of men inside in the midfield. We changed that a little bit in the second half, but we tried. But the quality was not there also because the characteristics is not the right characteristics in this moment. But we tried. We need to recover to the next one.
I mean, you could call it a strange game if you want. It's not really the words I would use to describe that match last night. Someone down there said Šeško is in invest. I'm guessing you mean investing in the future. You all expect everything instantly. Again, stop taking the piss out of United fans for speaking about how a striker yesterday probably should have scored a goal. That's not being over the top, reactionary. Šeško had probably that one golden chance was when he was put through with a header. He got on the end of a short corner really well and was quite unlucky. Yeah, Šeško should have scored yesterday. Doesn't mean anything that we want everything immediately and instantly. No. But if you sign a striker for 75 million in the summer, you expect him to score a few goals. And last night was one of those games where I wouldn't say I expected Šeško to score going into it, but at the end of it, I was disappointed that he didn't score. Down there, look. Let's run just through some facts here. Okay? Rather than sort of speaking about conjecture. United just gave a point to a tragically bad Premier League team. This was their run of games going into that match last night. Right? You can talk to me about systems or players missing or subs being right. The fact of the matter is, United are the first team in 12 games in the Premier League to give a single point to Wolves. And for United fans, actually, no, I can't speak for all United fans. For me, right, when it comes to my opinion on Ruben Amorim, I think there's two types of games which impact how fans feel about managers more than others. Number one is games against your biggest rivals. So United's games against Liverpool will always be more important than other games. Games against City will always be more important than other games. And the impact of those results will reverberate a little bit longer. And the second type of games are these types of games at Old Trafford, in front of your fans at home, where you just, it's not in a case of like just do not perform. When you play like we did against Everton, which was a tragic performance against Everton. We could not do a thing against 10 men for 77 minutes. That result and that performance lives longer in the memory, and it's followed up by that game against West Ham. United were 1-0 up. We decided to sit deep. We decided to try and hold West Ham off when we've only had one clean sheet that season, and we conceded an 83rd minute equaliser, and we couldn't get a winner. And then on top of that Everton game and the West Ham game, you then add that Wolves game. So that's 3 games against 3 teams at Old Trafford where United should really be winning all of them. And that's not a case of sort of expecting everything and thinking United are the greatest, because we're not. We are a bang average mid-table team. But we should be dispatching these teams at Old Trafford. Hey, I'm not saying that we need to like spank them all 4-5-6-1. But you should be winning those. And that, for me, is why that result last night was really damaging for Ruben Amorim. Not the first example of it. And I have to go back to the choices, and I'll speak about that next. Someone sent a super chat. Is that Captain? How you doing, buddy? Happy New Year. Said, here's a little something for you and the team. Enjoy your reading whatever you decide to do, because yesterday evening was a joke. See you in 2026. Thank you very much, dude. I will not be doing much tonight, because, mate, I slept like a kid yesterday. I slept for like 6 hours in the afternoon. I went to bed the night before at like 9:30. I'm feeling a bit better today, but boy, what that was, that absolutely walloped me. So Timmy's saying Šeško's feeding on scraps. How is that meant to help him build confidence and momentum? Hey, last night I thought Šeško had a couple of pretty decent chances rather than scraps. Now, I'm not saying you have to expect your strikers to score. That's what they are. They're goal scorers. I'm not expecting him to do it every single game because no one can do that. But last night, he should have scored. It's not an unfair thing to say. It's not an outrageous claim to make. Well, I know you're right, man. Like, you look at that game against Wolves. Like, you look at that game against Everton and West Ham. Mate, I hate watching a passive Manchester United. Like, I'll go back to it. If you're old enough to unfortunately have watched the season, nothing, I don't think, will ever be worse than that Louis van Gaal season. The second season, I think it was. We played at 2 miles an hour the whole time. That's what that game felt like to me against Wolves. It felt like watching Louis van Gaal football, which is the worst thing I could possibly say about a Ruben Amorim team. Infuriatingly slow. Wolves and United both operated some sort of mid-block. No pressing at any point. And just, I said it in my match reaction, Martinez to Shaw, Shaw to Heaven, Shaw back to Martinez, Martinez across to Shaw, go to Dorgu, oh, back to you. And it's just that sort of, that pattern, just that across the back five. So painful, man. And for Ruben Amorim, this was the choice that was just kind of spectacularly wrong. If I can ask you in the chat, right? I mean, I suppose Ruben Amorim's kind of said it here. But can you give me any reason why United switched to that back five? Because by the sounds of this, like, this is Ruben Amorim saying that, look, we knew that they were going to play with a five. They're going to use the width, and today was just to do that and sometimes build up with Dorgu open or close with Luke Shaw doing the opposite. I mean, what it sounds like to me there was Ruben Amorim was setting United up to counter what Wolves were doing. So you're telling me Man United were going into a game against Wolves at Old Trafford, a Wolves team that had lost 11 in a row and they were on 2 points. That we went into that game sort of thinking about what they were going to do. I think that's kind of what it sounds like. But switching to a back five, look, there will be times, there will be games where that actually can help United. But last night was just not the point to do it. You've literally got the player who was Premier League Player of the Week before, because he played in a different position against Newcastle. It was right wing. It suited him. There was a little bit of space, and it was a great goal that he scored. And that was a worldie. So he's not going to score a goal like that every single week. But it was a very, very unnecessary choice. Like, Neville, you're coming down there saying, this chat is knackering. How was yesterday Amorim's fault? Like, dude. Like, come on. Like, you know, I consider myself pretty level-headed here. But I'm watching that, and there was just no need to change from... Like, he did the difficult thing against Newcastle. Well, then I say the difficult thing. That was where the big change came. Caught Eddie Howe off guard. Played four at the back. Different system. And it worked. And Newcastle didn't really know what to do. And United and the players looked a lot more comfortable in those positions. And we got the clean sheet. Like, fuck, we got our first clean sheet since Sunderland. Like, you did the difficult thing. Made some changes. Got the 3 points at Old Trafford in a tough game. And you got the clean sheet. So now you're playing Wolves a few days later. And instead of continuing what you did, you kind of completely reverted. Like, unnecessarily. That was change for change's sake. It wasn't a change I think helped United in any way, shape or form. Dorgu looked a lot less comfortable in the left wing back position. It was just, like, what was the point in it? And that's what I mean. That's why that game annoyed me. Because I don't think United needed to make the changes that we did, and they hurt us. And at the same time, I completely agree with everything being said down there. Like, the players were poor. Like, Wolves setting up different to Newcastle. Like, with the greatest of respect, who gives a fuck how Wolves are setting up? Can I repeat this again? This is a team that has 3 points in the Premier League. They are way on track to be the worst ever Premier League team. Who gives a toss what they do? Who cares what they're setting up like? For real. Like, you might say that's arrogant and... No. Sod that. Just look at yourselves in that game and get the job done. Don't think United did that. And then I agree, by the way. Like, the players were bad last night. Like, anybody who comes in here and tries to point the finger towards Mantato, the lad making his debut, or tries to point a finger towards Jack Fletcher. Nah. I'm going to be looking towards Cunha. I wanted him last night against his former team. That should have been like a major driver for him to just go above and beyond, I suppose. I'd look at Casemiro. I'd look towards the more senior players. I like Siraj, man. Like give up, man. Don't talk to me about players that are missing. I don't care. You can't pull these. You can't pull these. There is no excuse that can come off. There is no excuse for that game, that performance last night. Not from Amorim's perspective, not from every player's perspective. And yeah, sure, we are missing players, right? We are missing players. But we still had Cunha there. We still had Šeško. We still had Casemiro. We still had Martinez. We still had, I suppose you could put Dorgan. You had Delo in there. Had Ugarte. There's plenty of senior international players. Plenty of quality still. Enough quality to dispatch the worst Premier League team ever. Now, Bob, you're not a happy chappy. Steph, you deleted the comment. He's calling me a knob. Why am I a knob? Please explain. I am a frustrated United fan who last night watched a United team just be outdone by a disgustingly average Wolves team. And we did it at 2 miles an hour the whole game. And no player, really, apart from Senny Lamont, who made a cracking save. Well, a cracking couple of saves, really. Kind of came out of that game with any sort of credit. You just can't get away with it. I'll go back to it again. The Everton game. The West Ham game. And now the Wolves game. 3 really below par teams that we're playing in terms of the form that they are in, that have walked away from Old Trafford with results, when we should have won all of those games. And because it's Old Trafford, it has more impact. By the way, this is how we've ended the year now. Whew. Damn. Right. I'm going to go out and read some of the chats out, see who else is calling me a knob. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, Heaven was actually pretty good again. I'm not really sure why Heaven went off for Euro. Was that just... I mean, Amorim typically does like to make a centre-back sub. But I thought Amorim was... I don't think Old Trafford was happy about that one. Subtype, for people who push play the kids, do you see how unprepared they were? Carrington's not ready. The players are woeful. Manager's not everything. And again, anybody who's going to be This is always my fear. Fear. It's why I'll always have that natural position to not throw the kids in, because as soon as like Mantato comes in last night, he's now going to get added into that same category as all the other players and judged by the same standards as all of those senior players. Whereas in reality, he's just a young lad who's making his first ever appearance at Manchester United, and you can't judge him by the same standards. It's just not correct. But that's what a lot of fans will do. And that's why I will always hate younger players getting their opportunities in the wrong sort of pressure environment. The right sort of pressure is playing for Manchester United when we're on top and it's cruising. Like when we were 4-1 up away at Wolves. Would have been a really good time for Jay Lacey to make his debut. Obviously, he's made his debut since. But I will always hate that fans now, some United fans, will just try and jump on the youngsters and judge them by the same standards as the senior players who are failing above them. Look at that. More losses than wins. Mate. Oh. Yeah, that comment I will agree with. United is a different team this season when Mount is playing. Imagine that. You wouldn't have expected that going into the season, would you? Right? What do you think happens next then? Like, what's coming up? So we know exactly what's coming up. We've got Leeds on Sunday. Then we've got Burnley midweek. Newcastle beating them 3-1 last night, but it took until the 94th minute for them to get the third goal. So we've got Leeds and then Burnley away. Then we've got, is it Brighton in the FA Cup? I think it's Brighton in the FA Cup. And then we've got City at Old Trafford. Feels like that's going to be quite a big game. In exactly what I was explaining to you earlier. There's two types of games which I think are the most significant for Ruben Amorim and kind of for any United manager. Those games at Old Trafford where you should just be dispatching those teams like Wolves or West Ham or Everton, and those big games. City's, Liverpool. So that game against Liverpool City on the 17th is going to be a big one. Someone down there, I think higher ups forced Amorim into the back four system. No, like, dude, it's just not true. It's just a mad conspiracy. Same sort of conspiracy theories. Oh, Kobe Mainoo's not injured. He's just being, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. Amorim wasn't forced to change to a back four. I reckon he's had conversations with Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada about the problems, and I don't think he would have been forced. I think he would have been encouraged, but he wouldn't have been like given an ultimatum. Nor would he have been given an ultimatum to change back to a back five against Wolves. I can't get around that thinking, man. I really can't get around that thinking of how that was going to make United a more competitive team against Wolves. I'm just trying to think about it. Matching the system. I mean, we were never going to overrun a midfield because we had Casemiro and Ugarte. So it's just strange. Someone's saying what's happened with Mainoo. He's got injured, man. Yeah, we'll beat Leeds and lose to Burnley, and that will be peak United. I don't know how serious Mount's injury is. It's been said. Well, it's been said. Ruben Amorim said that he went off against Newcastle with like a niggle. He wanted to come out for the second half, but the club held him back and said, no, you're not going on. So I think they're erring on the side of caution, which is what they've been doing with every single injury so far. One thing I would say that was strange from last night, in terms of the reaction I've seen, was this. I think it was probably led by Gary Neville. Xerxes going off, right? Like, Gary Neville was trying to say that it was bizarre, it was shocking. I don't know whether this was just me. Like, Xerxes scored. But after that first half, I think like anybody could have really gone off. Like, he wasn't doing enough. And that might be a really harsh thing for me to say, considering he scored. But I wouldn't have called it bizarre. Like, he wasn't having an absolute, like, incredible game. I found that a bit weird. I'll be honest, I found that a little bit weird. I kind of understood why anybody could have gone off. I mean, the logic for him going off. Amorim was saying we're getting run around. We struggled with their midfield. And sometimes you can attack better with less strikers. Yeah. I think we had enough defenders on the pitch. I just found that a bit odd. Like, how Gary Neville was, like, totally shocked that he came off. Darren, I didn't say that we were going to smash Wolves. I was hoping that we were going to smash Wolves 4-1. I was optimistic that we could repeat what we did a couple of weeks ago at the Molyneux. And I knew that Wolves have been competitive at Liverpool and Arsenal. All you're showing is that you weren't joining in the chat, because I had a full conversation about that yesterday ahead of the game. It doesn't mean that United shouldn't have had enough to beat Wolves yesterday, because we should have had enough to beat Wolves yesterday. Absolutely. Same team that just beat Newcastle the day before, and Newcastle are a much better team than Wolves are right now. And they're not in the best of form. But we kept a clean sheet and we beat them. We should have and could have beaten Wolves, and we didn't. But yeah, I thought that was a really strange thing for Gary to get caught up on. I didn't think it was that bizarre that Xerxes went off. I wouldn't exactly say that Jack Fletcher changed the game for United, but I just don't think that anybody really changed the game for United. Pretty much the whole team was passengers. It's such a crap performance last night, man. Such a crap performance. Right. And you're saying that Neville's always looking for a stick to beat Ruben with. I wouldn't go as far as that. Gary Neville has become a very successful businessman and has so many different ventures going on that it feels like, I don't know. It feels like he wasn't the pundit that he was previously, because he's had to split his time across multiple things. And therefore, I don't know. Fuck's sake. United, man. Amorim. Just the swings. I mean, how many times have we won a few games in a row? How many times have we won 2 games in a row? It's just the standard. Whoop, whoop. It's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Go and do it against Leeds. Lose against Burnley. Go and do it against Brighton. Lose against City. Win 2 in a row. Lose 3 in a row. Mr. Odibo. Happy New Year, Sam. Thank you very much, dude. Have a good one, and thanks for the year's content. It's still rotten from the top. The owners need to be accountable as well. It's all gone quiet with protests, and it shouldn't have. Am I looking towards Ineos here as the problem? Now, I'm looking at this team. We had enough to beat Newcastle a few days ago, so you can't come at me and say, I know you're correct in saying this, but you can't come at me and say that, oh, AFCON this and all these players are missing, because all the players were missing from Newcastle a couple of days ago. It was about approach. It was about the system. It was about how every player played. And they did it a few days ago. And I'll be honest, in the second half against Newcastle, it was squeaky bum time the whole time. We dropped into I think in the second half against Newcastle, we switched to a back 5. And we invited Newcastle forward. But to be fair, Heaven and Martinez and Le Mans, the defence held strong. So this exact same team then played Wolves a few days later. Like you say that Newcastle spanked us in the second half. United decided to sit deep in the second half and switch from back 4 to a back 5. We invited Newcastle forward And we held them off. That's exactly what it was last night. Like, hit 6-1-5-7. There was a huge lack of any aggression from any players. It's something that whenever you see it in a game, it's all you can really focus on. It's all you can really talk about. Because it's the utter basics of football. And like the amount of times that we've reverted to this conversation is exhausting. It's really, really, really exhausting at this point. It's nothing to do with playing 3 games a week. It's down to application, desire, choices from the manager. They were just all wrong against Newcastle. Not Newcastle, sorry. All wrong against Wolves. Wolves came to Old Trafford yesterday. I mean, they probably would have been thinking, we've got a chance here. Because they know what United are like. But we gave them all the impetus they needed with our opening 20 minutes. You know what I think about the first 15 minutes at Old Trafford. I think United have the ability to win a lot of games of football at home in that first 15-20. And for some reason, we still don't take advantage of it as a club. We seem to have forgotten that. But I take the Bournemouth game, for example. Look, Bournemouth and Wolves set up very differently. Now, one thing we know that we bloody struggle against, and we have struggled against for a long ass time, is low blocks. Right? Wolves operated a low block. It's almost as if they've got 2 points in the Premier League, lads. It's almost as if they're the worst team that the Premier League arguably has ever seen. In terms of results. Now, something I would agree with what a few people are saying is I've seen much worse teams than Wolves. However, the Wolves that we played at Molineux was pretty much like one of the worst teams I've ever seen. They were crap at Molineux. Same team came and did that against us at Old Trafford. We allowed them into that game. We gave them space. We didn't press them anywhere. We gave them a little bit of confidence and they grew and grew and grew into the game. Let me go read some of your comments out. United got booed off last night. Fans are booing ever since the ref. The ref had a bit of a whiffy game, let's be honest. He missed some obvious decisions. But did we lose last night because of the ref? Nah. No, we didn't. Frankie is saying it was disappointing not to get 3 points, but we all have to admit we have a much weakened squad and are in survival mode. Let's try and give the lads a little positivity. I can't after last night, dude. You know me. I'm not someone to just throw fuel on the fire unnecessarily, but I can't pull a positive out from last night. Heaven played all right again. I thought Le Mans was pretty decent from an individual perspective. Šeško was getting himself in good opportunities, but wasn't able to take those chances. But apart from that, it's like there's not really much you can take from that. There really isn't. As I said, it's kind of a repeat. Like there's nothing wrong with making mistakes in life, people. You know me. It's just something I always say. We didn't lose, mate. We played a team that had 2 points. Mantato made his debut. Yeah, that's fair enough. Mantato made his debut. But this is why the reaction is how it is. It's not just off the back of doing that against Wolves. It's off the back of doing that against Wolves because we did it against Everton, because we did it against West Ham, and now we've done it again against Wolves. That's the reason that there's a reaction like this from so many fans. And on top of that, it's the fact that we saw that against Newcastle, and we saw a shift in system. We saw Dorgu going out to the right wing. No one really expected it. Substantial changes, improvement, adding on to the 3 results that we had before, 3 performances, which were Bournemouth and Villa. What was the other one? Is it Bournemouth, Villa and Newcastle, or is there one in between there? Choices. Wrong choices last night and unnecessary choices. And that's kind of where my opinion is. And you're saying we can sack Ruben, but I guarantee we'll be right here in 12 months saying the same old shit. He's a facet of the issue, not the root cause. I just don't know why he did that yesterday. I don't know why he went into that game thinking about how Wolves were going to set up. And I don't know why he switched that system again to the back five when it just wasn't necessary to make those changes. That's where the core of my frustration is. That's the thing I can't get my head around from last night. Raphael saying, one positive for the whole season is Le Mans is a breath of fresh air. Yeah. It's nice to not have to talk about a goalkeeper. Right, let me see what you're saying down here. I think the change of manager is completely different from any other change we've ever made after Fergie. This is the first change under a new football structure. Ruben was a mistake before they started. Oh, here comes Captain Hindsight down there. It's nice to see you there. Frankie saying, I think Cunha disappeared last night. Well, you can say that about, like, as I said, if you think that I'm going to be sitting here having a pop at Mantato or having a pop at Darren Fletcher, no, I'm going to be speaking about the senior professionals who just didn't do the job last night. Last night, yeah, sure, I wanted United to win 4-1. I wanted United to spank Wolves. Great. Okay, fine, whatever. But United should have got the job done last night. We had enough senior professionals and quality footballers there to be able to just dispatch Wolves. Whether it was a 1-0, whether it was a 2, whatever it is, man, right? They didn't do their job, as Roy Keane would say. And neither did the manager. This football team, man. Yeah. So what is it now? Leeds on Sunday. Anybody been watching Leeds recently? Watch their game against Sunderland. And I watched, what's their game before that? Leeds are very much playing like a team who probably aren't going to go down. Like, Wolves are going down. I think West Ham are going down. I don't know who else is down there at the bottom. Are Forest involved? Either way, I don't think it looks like Leeds are going to go down. And for them to play United at Ellen Road, it's always going to be a spicy game. It's why it's been given a 12:30 kickoff. If we play like that, will a back five work against Leeds? Pretty sure Leeds play with a back five quite a lot. Yeah, Anton Stack does look good. Burnley, yeah, Burnley will probably be going down. We play them after a few days' time. Newcastle won 3-1 last night, but they were kind of holding on for a good while in that game. And they got the third goal in the 94th, 95th minute. There will be a lunchtime video today, and it's going to be on last night. It's going to be on Amorim. It's going to be on just where I am with it all. I'm so pig sick of a step in the right direction. And you know what last night felt like? Felt like we just literally shot ourselves in the foot. That's what it felt like. That's why I'm annoyed. Like, you did the hard part in making the switches and the changes against Newcastle, and it worked, and you got a response. So why would you turn away from that against the Wolves team? That's where I stand in it, man. That's where I stand in it. Rapid saying Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's to you too, buddy. The biggest evidence of United's lack of aggressive thinking was highlighted by Dalot when he could have scored but just stood there with his arms spread. I don't remember exactly what point you're talking about there. In terms of the podcast, Rob, we were supposed to record on the 28th, 29th, but I was ill, so I couldn't. Probably we'll do... Well, it's New Year's Eve tonight, so we can't do one tonight. Captain, he's saying, for 13 months it's trust the process. I'm afraid I can't trust this process. This 10-game period started at Everton and is in proof I can't trust it. I think that's a really frustrating point that we're at now. Is, again, we're in that period of games where we looked at going into it going, oh, this is an opportunity. You got Everton, you got West Ham, then you got Wolves at home. Or Newcastle will be a tricky one. Newcastle's the bloody game that we win. And then we lose. Well, say lose. We lose against Everton. We draw against West Ham. We draw against Wolves. Last night was frustrating, says Neville. Simple as. Silly to expect another 4-1 result with the team being as it is. I hate this entitled crap. But United are in a crisis. Do I think United are in a crisis? I think that's a bit over the... I wouldn't use the word crisis. I just think this is United. I sort of accepted that a little while ago. We are a mid-table club. We are a mid-table team. And these sorts of results constantly happen, I suppose, to mid-table teams. But I don't think it needed to yesterday. That's where the core of my frustration is. I think even with these players missing, even with how we're playing right now and the up and down nature of it, I think we gave a lot of advantages to Wolves yesterday that we didn't need to give them. And we hurt ourselves with those changes. It's not a case of, it's not the manager at all, it's the team, Graham. It's absolutely everything that's staring you in the face. Amorim got a lot wrong against Wolves. From the system, from a sub perspective, I mean, I know people are going to go in on the subs because we're going on the subs quite a lot. The Xerxes one, I don't think it was bizarre at all. I don't think Xerxes was playing particularly well. We got a deflected goal, good, but let's not act like Xerxes was playing incredible in that first half. Nobody was, right? Secondly, we had 6 youngsters on the bench yesterday. The Fletcher twins, Mantato, Lacey, Fredrickson. Like, from a sub perspective, do we really have that much game changer from the bench right now? No, because we're missing Bruno, Ahmad, and Bumo, Mazraoui, Mainu. Like, our squad is thin, certainly from a sub perspective. So I don't particularly think that you can have too much of a go at the subs. Mate, like, if I'm gonna say one, I would probably agree on that. The heaven for Yoro was a bit like, huh? I don't exactly think that Yoro made any mistakes. I don't really think that heaven needed to go off. I think that was kind of an unnecessary sub. Like, sub for a sub's sake, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you're saying, like, why take off Xerxes then if we don't have anyone? I mean, Amorim was saying that he did that to bring an extra body into midfield, but then we should have just played. I feel like we switched and we changed against Villa. Like that's what pisses us off so much, man. That's what pisses us all off. Right? Well, you go and play like that against Bournemouth. But Bournemouth weren't in the best of form, but you go and do that against Bournemouth. You go and play that against Villa, against the informed team in the whole league, in a completely new midfield setup, and we actually play through Villa for the majority of the game, and we should really have won that game. I certainly got a result from it. And then you go and do that against Wolves. Like, what do you expect? How can you expect us not to be frustrated? Seriously. That's the problem. Jimmy, thank you very much for Super Chat, dude. What are you saying? You're saying players are a massive problem because they only care about the money. So having a manager who is too much of a coward to fine them for lethargic and low energy performances is a recipe for disaster. Weak and spineless. I'll be honest, Jimmy. I'm not looking at this United team and thinking in the same way I did previously. Like we've got full of a bunch of mercenaries. No one plays for the shirt anymore. I don't think that. That's not how I feel about this squad. So I kind of disagree on that one. I don't know whether you would have fines for under par performances. I don't know whether that would be a bit harsh. But I don't get how we can do what we did against Villa and then play the tempo that we played there against Wolves. Mate, that was at 2 miles an hour the whole game. And that's the end of 2025. I'm going to pull that back up there. I'm not asking for a rating. Now, Luke Shaw's not there for the money. Luke Shaw's there for the bloody World Cup. That's why Luke Shaw's there. 2025 is over, people. Well, in T-minus 13 hours. Who's doing what? Anybody going to have some fun tonight? Come on, let's end it with a high. Who's going where? I can't remember the last time I actually went out on New Year's Eve. Like, going out on New Year's Eve is always such a disappointment, man. A, it's like 4 times the price. And then B, as soon as it reaches 12:01, you're like, oh, actually, this is a very average, normal night. And now I've got to pay 6 times the price for everything. And I can't go home. That's bad, but isn't it? Getting hammered at a rave. That's my sort of guy. Jay Digley, he knows it. Mr. Odibbo said, I'm not hammering him out, but 14 wins in the league after being manager over a year is unacceptable. Well, that's pretty... yeah, that's pretty fair. It's been a very unacceptable year. Man United will be good again at some point. Chris, you working tomorrow? Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. I know. Sorry, Sam, this is a below par show, just like the game last night. My bad. Look, I'm going to wrap up. I'm going to do a video on Ruben Amorim for lunchtime today. I'll just give you my honest opinion on it all, right? It's been a tough year for United. There's been some highs, but there's been mainly lows, right? I'll be here tomorrow, I think. Everybody have a fantastic new year. Thank you all for sticking with me, despite United, let's be honest, being bloody depressing. I'm going to wait until probably Friday. I'll bring the quizzes back. I'm not in the condition right now to bring up the entertainment. I'm really not. I need to go blow my nose. I will see you probably tomorrow. I'll see you at lunchtime anyway. Much love, everybody.